Welcome back, guys. About to pull the power head off the little Evinrude 15. Need to start off with a quick backstory on it though. About 2 years ago, we're having water pump problems, or so I thought. So put a new impeller in the foot. Still had like a weak stream and I ran it a little bit, but just parked the boat for a little while. And then started it up a couple months ago and it had no water flow. So ended up finding some crud in the little pee hole there, cleaned it out, and we had a little stream, but it wasn't real strong. Well, 3 weeks ago, I think, took the boat out and I felt, when I was wide open throttle, I felt the boat lose power, and then I turned around as soon as I felt it losing power and it was not shooting any water out. So a couple seconds later, the motor stopped and steam came out of it, just a very little bit, but it did cut off and I had to get towed back in. So about 3 days ago, I came out here just curious. I pulled the handle, the engine's not seized. I pulled the 2 spark plugs and put a compression tester on it, both cylinders. I pulled the cord 2 or 3 times. Both cylinders had about 90 psi, which is not great, but there is compression in both cylinders, so there isn't a hole in the piston or a broke ring or something like that. At that point, I decided, let's see what happens, let's fire it up. So pumped the fuel bubble a couple times, pulled the handle, started right up. Went ahead and cut it off, and now I think the motor is okay, but we have no cooling. I'm gonna pull the power head off. My thought is we have a good water pump. I think that there's a water line that goes from the water pump impeller up to the power head. I think that grommet's bad and we're not getting water to the power head. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this power head, see if I'm right. It's been a long time, probably 10 years since I've done this, so see how it goes. There's it's like 6 bolts, 10 millimeters down here. We'll pop those off real quick. Then we need to take off the little air inlet, the pull start, the fuel line, and there's going to be a couple of mounts. See this mount right here, 10 millimeter. I believe there's 4 of those up here. Oh, and also the shifter. So that should be about it. Got a little rainstorm coming through, so we're going to try to do this quick. Here we go, the 6 bolts from 3 over here, 3 over here. Now we're going to start on this side. Air breather, starter. We can grab that bolt right there. We should be able to grab the 2 fronts whenever we get the air cleaner off. Mount right there. Fuel filter, shifter. You have 4 screws here, 1/4-inch drive. Then there should be 2 Phillips head inside here. So this is just your top. Then you got your lower section, 2 flatheads. Get that off. With the 2 flathead screws out, you can just kind of pull this thing forward. Actually, you need to get your idle mixture screw off. Then you can pull this forward and up. Like that. So what it does is it slides over. So you have to just pull it back and then off. Then you also have your choke lever here needs to come off. So you just take the little bracket off that's held down by the 2 screws. Like that. Choke lever off like that. It brought that little piece with it, which is fine. With the air cleaner off, you can see there's another mount bolt right there, and it looks like there's only 3. I thought there was 4, but we need to get the pull start off now. Pull starter bolt here is a 9/16. So it looks like we're going to be metric and standard back and forth on this thing. And What I'm gonna do is just get it out of the way. I'm not gonna take it off. So that thing's spring loaded, so just be careful. In fact, I'm gonna get something to hold it together so it doesn't come apart on me. Okay, I had felt a few raindrops, so I went ahead and took some stuff apart. Put the zip tie on there. This is in fact, not a 10mm. Those are 7/16. There. You have a ground cable right there. So just keep that in mind when you put it back together. Took the kill switch wire loose. Fuel pump or fuel line to the pump. Took that loose. Down here is where you have a little water line that goes down and right to your little pee hole. Took that loose. 7/16 right here to take the shifter loose, and then pulled this little piece of rubber back, put this pry bar right up underneath the power head, broke it loose, so this thing should come out. I think we're good to go. I did make a boo-boo over here. I was trying to hit these ears with the hammer, the little dead blow hammer, definitely not a metal hammer. Tried to hit that, and I was trying to loosen the power head that way. I missed and hit the little coil there. Whoops. Anyway, let's get that power head off. Come here. Come here. Phoebe, come. Quit digging. Reach over. Savage. Here's a quick look of the inside, just in case you guys have never seen this before. You have the shaft where the exhaust and the water goes down, your actual shaft to the crankshaft. Got a little bit of, looks like the 2-cycle oil right there. Your mounts, 1, 2, 3 mounts right there. And fuel line, how it routes, little water line I was telling you about, the shifter, how it mounts right here. So then there's a piece right here for your throttle. So when you turn your throttle, it's just working off that little gear. And that's about it on this end. I'll show you the power head. So to the crankshaft, water line, exhaust. This is an 88 power head. Mentioned that in another video. That's an 85 body, frame, housing, whatever you want to call it. This is an 88. Put this motor together a while ago. I think that we're not getting water to the engine due to this. It actually looks okay, so might have to do some more investigating here. Went ahead and took the exhaust pipe off. 4 3/8 bolts got it off. And when I say 3/8, I mean the head of the bolt, not the actual thread and pitch and all that stuff, the bolt size. So what I was thinking is this grommet was bad and we weren't getting water up to our engine, and in fact that looks pretty good, so gonna have to dig a little deeper, I think. Got the engine out, power head out just before the rain, boat put back over there. I have it leaned like that because it drains the water out. It won't do it if I have it on the little dolly there, so the little 2x6 holds it up. Anyway, more diagnosis to do. All right, so as you can see, I'm in the garage. I have the engine behind me, power head and the foot, and it's been 2 weeks since I've worked on this thing, and mainly because boats.net took forever to get the parts here. But let me go ahead and show you what I did. I did a little more diagnostic stuff and just show you what I did here. So here's the power head. Like I said, this is an 88 power head, an 85 hull. And so in 85, the thermostat, you have to take the whole deal off here. You don't have just a cover. But anyway, what I did is, since my seals were good underneath here, I was trying to figure out where the water restriction was or whatever the issue was. So I got a cup of water and I poured it in here. There's 2 holes there. Poured it in those, and it came out of the bottom, one where the water goes in and the other one where the water comes out. So that was clear passages there. And then also you see here, that's for the engine. I poured it down there into the engine part, and it came out here where the P hole comes out of the exterior of the motor. So that was all working right. So it had to be something in the foot. Now, took the foot off, and it's been so long since I did the video, I can't remember. There's only 6 bolts holding the foot on, and you take the bolt out here for the shifter, and that's it. Foot falls off. And then you have the drive shaft here also that will come out with the foot. But here's the water pump housing here, and what I found was the impeller was damaged. So the reason I didn't directly go to the impeller when I was starting the diagnostic on this is because it wasn't that old, and I didn't think that it was bad. But there's one thing that I was doing to cause this to go bad prematurely, and what I'd like to do is fire the motor up just for a second or two before I leave for a fishing trip, and I was doing that without the water hooked to it. So without water to lubricate this, it just destroyed it. So there's a new one. Like I said, it took 2 weeks for boats.net to get this stuff to me. These are the 2 little grommets that go over the water tubes. So you got that little short water tube, then you got the feed water tube. Here's a O-ring for the thermostat. Here's the main gasket for the housing, the whole power head to be bolted down. So I have those ready to put this thing back together. I'm going to go ahead and put the new impeller in, put all the seals in, put it all back together, put the water to it, and I think the problem's going to be fixed. I think this was the problem the whole time. Like I said, that was neglect on my part, not hooking the water up to the boat motor, and that's the price I had to pay. So I'm going to put the new one in, and I think we're going to be good to go with this thing. Water pump assembly's all tightened up, just a little 7/16 wrench, got that done. Now I'm gonna move on to the power head, get our new gaskets and stuff on here. So on my power head, I think just over the years, the thermostat completely disintegrated. So before I put a thermostat in, boats.net wanted $110 for a thermostat. I found one off of marineengines.com or something like that. I think it's $28 or $30. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and throw the cover on here, which is right here. I have it cleaned up, throw the O-ring on, put it back on, and make sure the engine's all working before I start spending more money on it. So what I'm going to do is just put it together like this, no thermostat, and after we make sure the engine's okay, then I'll just get a thermostat coming. As you can see, it's just an O-ring, so it's okay to reuse. I already cleaned up the exhaust and the water tubes there, just using a razor to get all this gasket off so I can put my new gasket on, have a nice clean surface to work with. Cleaned that up with the razor blade, then went behind it with a brass wire brush. So very soft on the surface there, not going to hurt anything. I have my little pipes, little water pipes, and you can see the little grommets here. They have a groove in it, so just pop them over. I have my grommets on my little tubes here. Took a little elbow grease and some soapy water, but got them on there. Now I'm just sliding them into the exhaust housing, and over here I have a brand new gasket. Mount our power unit to our engine unit, and also it is a gasket for the exhaust. It's got tack on it, so it stick on there. That's pretty cool. Thing's super sticky. That way, when we go to set our power head on our engine, it will it'll stick to the power head, so we don't have any issues with kinking or anything like that. So we'll just line it up and stick it on. Throw this exhaust housing on here. That'll be the last thing we need to do before setting it back on. Have the exhaust on now. I'm going to try to drop this thing in. Have the power head all bolted in place, 6 bolts underneath, and then 3 mounts on the inside. Those are all up here. These are 7/16. Down at the bottom, those are 3/8. And a couple things to keep in mind: the throttle here, make sure that's aligned as it's going down in there. And I think that was it. 7/16 right here to put the shifter linkage back on. And up here for the pull cable, make sure that it's clocked back. Underneath there is a pin, and then there's a hole in the bracket off of the intake manifold. Just make sure that's aligned, so it's actually putting tension on your pull cord here, and your pull cord's going to come out just like that behind this metal plate here, so it slides smoothly. And as far as that goes, that's it. I forgot to get a fuel line, so my fuel line is dry and crusty, so I need to go grab one of those in the morning. And I think we can go ahead and put the foot back on now. I do need to put the air cleaner on, so let's go ahead and do the air cleaner, and then we put the foot back on. There's the air filter, or the air cleaner assembly, and also put the choke back on, which just has that little bracket underneath the air intake system there. So 4 bolts on top. There's 2 inside of there that holds the main part on, and then also that little bracket for the choke there. So now we can go ahead and put the foot on. When putting the foot on, you need to make sure this top bolt's out for the shifter, otherwise you won't be able to get it in. There's the shifter bolt right there. You have to get that on first before doing anything else. So you have to just hold it up there and get it started, get it tight with a screwdriver. And then now we can pull that thing up. I have my 6 bolts right there. So we're gonna pull up the foot, put those 6 bolts in. Tomorrow morning I'm gonna have to go get a fuel line, and hopefully we can get this thing fired up, put the ears on it, and see if we have water flow on it. So that's gonna do it. I'm gonna finish that up right there. See you guys in the morning. All right, see, I got the water running here. So next morning, put a new main fuel line on, wrapped it around to the fuel pump, and I happened to get a 1/4 inch fuel line for this, and it's too big. So this is the old fuel line. I still need to replace that. Went ahead and did a test run. Appears everything's working properly. So let me show you real quick. Oh, forgive me, I'm not wearing a shirt too. Hot out. that's gonna do it for today. I'm gonna get this thing loaded up, take it on the lake for a test run, maybe dangle some fish for a few minutes, see if we can catch anything. It is blistering hot out though, midday, so probably not gonna be a good bite. I did get another winch because this has a rope on it from 1993. So go ahead and put a new winch on. This one has a cable, which I'm not extremely excited about, but it's what they had at Harbor Freight for 20 bucks. So get this thing ready, go for a test drive, little fish dangle. See you guys next time.